spring training is definitely the best time of year for the baseball season. Everybody's in a relaxed atmosphere. Nobody's played a game yet, so no one's won, no one's lost, and so everyone's equal. The amount of work that the players put in, the hours they put in, the fans I don't think realize that. But also the players that are battling for positions on clubs, there's always great stories in that. Whether there's 2 second basemen or 2 starting pitchers vying for the last starting job. They're both, the players are very friendly amongst themselves, but when they go out there, they're doing the best they can, and when they sit down and the other guy takes a spot, they're rooting for him just as well. But those are the great stories, and that's what makes spring so interesting.
Competition. Whether it's making the team or winning, competition is what the game is all about. Billy Taylor knows more than most how hard it is to make a big league team. Taylor has spent 13 seasons in the minor leagues, and he's still pursuing his dream. This year in Phoenix with the Oakland A's.
My expectations are going into camp and with the thought in mind that I'm having a chance to make the big league team. And that was the thing. I came over from Atlanta, and Oakland picked me up in the off season, and said the opportunity was there, and and for my situation, that's what I need to do. I have to go where the opportunity's there, and I think I'm gonna get a fair chance of in spring training of getting a chance of making a team when camp breaks. So that's one of the reasons I chose to come to Oakland. Well, last year, I was picked up by Toronto in the Rule 5. I went right down to the last day, and they made a decision to keep Ken Daly. But that's all in the past. I'm just looking forward here now. Games are getting ready to start tomorrow. Hopefully I can get out there and compete with them, and like I say, break with this team when time comes.
It's the same story in every camp, year in and year out. The Mariners are looking for a 5th starter for their pitching rotation. One of the prospects, Roger Saukheld, is hoping that the job will go to him.
For guys that are trying to make the team, it's a little different. You got to go a little earlier than the guys that know they've got a spot, like Bosio or Randy. They can take it easy. They can wait till that last game to let it go. And even if they don't want to take it to the last game, they can wait for opening day. But for a guy like me, I've got to come out, at least halfway through spring and start going hard. And that's just the way it is. Until you earn the right to come into spring and know you got a job. It's just the way it is.
Starting pitcher for Seattle, number 22, Roger Saukheld. Saukheld, starting pitcher for the Mariners.
I've thrown pretty well here. I think I've shown that I've at least deserve a chance to see if I can pitch in the big leagues, but that's not my decision. They'll go with the person that they feel most comfortable with.
Over in the Padres camp, there is a battle for the backup catcher position. Among those competing for the job is Brian Deke. Deke has spent his entire career in the minor leagues. Like the A's Taylor, he changed teams in the off-season to give himself a better opportunity with a team that is thin at his position.
Once you've played a couple years of AAA and stuff, it's kind of like now when you go to camp, you're hoping to get the opportunity to make a team out of spring training, which is what I'm hoping for here. And a lot of times teams come in and they probably already have in their minds who's going to make the team and who's not. So you kind of have to try to make yourself stand out a little bit to show somebody what you can do and hopefully make a team. With the catchers, there's 6 or 7 other catchers out here all they all want to make the team just like I do. So, everybody can catch out here. It's not like somebody's really standing out over somebody else.
For Taylor, Saukheld, Deke, and 100 other prospects, they won't know their future until the end of March. And if the call comes, the memory of the spring their boyhood dream came true will last forever.
There is a board, you know, just there's not a pen, it's just using an eraser to do it. And, you know, it's tough sometimes. You know, I've seen some young men cry, you know, when they get sent out, or some young men, you got to make them feel that it's not a failure. Or like, most of the time, you know, through process elimination, you don't have to call them in, kind of, because these guys have the numbers figured out too. You know, I mean, you have a pretty good idea how many pitchers you're going to carry, whether it's 10 or 11, and you know, you start counting down. Whether there's 28 of us left, there's only going to be three guys going to leave. Through process elimination, you just figure out, okay, are they going to keep 7 infielders or 8 or 5 outfielders or 6? And then after a while, you see a guy. You know, some guys being sent down, some guys being released, and then you know that you're one of the final cuts. You know, that final cut is the toughest. I don't care if you're in Little League. I was talking to my high school coach who was visiting me yesterday, and he said that he used to go home sometime, and man, a couple of times he cried on cutting kids because the kid might have had a ton of desire and a ton of ambition, but was short on talent. And it's not any easier at that level than it is this level. And anybody that can do it in a fashion doesn't feel any emotions about it, you know, to me they don't have a heart, and this is what this game's all about.
As a kid, I mean, you dream about it, but you're like, you know, it seems like that's 50 years away. And even when I was in AAA and it was only the next level, I mean, it still seemed like it was 50 years away. So, you know, it's always something, you know, you shoot for. You know, it's kind of like dying. I mean, you know, it's somewhere out there, and, you know, you don't ever anticipate it coming. You know, it could be this, you know, today or tomorrow, but you don't really, you know, think about it like that. I mean, you know, for me, baseball, you know, getting to the big leagues was just, well, someday when I grow up. Well, all of a sudden I found myself 24 years old and I was growing up and the big leagues were beckoning, so it just really caught me off guard, and, you know, it's a great feeling though.
I remember asking the clubhouse guy, this was 1975, and Frank Robinson, like I said, was the first manager for me, and I made it that spring. But I kept asking the clubhouse guy, you know, like every day I was, you know, asking him, did I make it? Did I make it? You know, I mean, he didn't, you know, he's the guy that knows. You'd be surprised, but here's the clubhouse guy knowing who makes the club, but he's the one that puts the unis out, so he must know, you know.
My first spring training was in '87, and I came to spring training. Chris Brown, our third baseman at the time, was hurt, and I got a chance to play every day. The last day of spring training, I didn't know whether Dirk Smith told me to pack my suitcase just in case, because I didn't know whether, he didn't know, nobody knew whether I was going to go up or down, or whether Chris was going to be able to play opening day or what. So I got called in the office that last day of spring training, and they told me that I was going to be sent down. So I went down and played a few games in the minor league camp, and played one game here in Phoenix at AAA, and after the game I got a call and said, you're going to the big leagues. So I played one game in AAA, and I found myself in LA the next day at Dodger Stadium.
The first few days, actually the first couple of weeks of spring training, we have a lot of guys in camp. A lot of the younger guys from the minor leagues are on the verge of making the major leagues are here in camp. So there's a lot of guys, but about the middle of March, those guys start filtering down, and then the team starts to shape up, and you know, it's kind of neat the way that happens. And by the time we leave here, you know, to see the ball club that we're going to have that year, you know, it's kind of neat.
Yeah. It's exciting. My first year in AAA last year, it was exciting to see the expressions on the faces, and when you did tell them they were getting called up for the first time, the excitement and joy that they had, and being able to be a part of it. You really get excited for the player. You can't wait to tell him that he's going up, because you feel like you've done something right, and he is finally being able to achieve, you know, his goal of making it to the big leagues that he's had since he was yay high. So it's a really probably the most enjoyable part of the job. Once you're there, you just know that all that hard work paid off, all that dedication and all the summer vacations that you never took, and And you know, everything you strive for, it's a sense of satisfaction knowing that you made the necessary disciplines to get to that point.
The youngsters have been playing baseball most of their life, and this is the culmination of their career, is to make the big league teams, because even when they weren't highly paid, as they weren't for many, many years, it was still a way of life that they all wanted.
During the final week of spring training, a lot of dreams are realized or put on hold for another year. Teams make their final roster moves before breaking camp. The Seattle Mariners reassigned pitcher Roger Salkeld to Calgary of the AAA Pacific Coast League. Brian Deke's name was missing from the Padres' Major League roster as the team headed for San Diego and an April 4th opening day game against the Atlanta Braves.
You get a little bit of a feel for it. First couple weeks that go by in big league camp, and it just came down to basically there was, Brad Ausmus had the job wrapped up there, and there were two other guys that basically they were looking at to back him up. And right now I just wasn't one of those guys, but hopefully if I can play well in Las Vegas, and I can end up back there during the season. Well, the way it happened here in San Diego, I got here one morning and one of the coaches just told me that Riggleman needed to see me in his office, and at that time you kind of know what's going on, and you go into they had like a little room, and Riggleman was in there with a couple of the other coaches, and Randy Smith was in there, the GM, and they just kind of let you know where you stand as far as the organization goes, and basically that's it. Just tell you to go down and keep working hard. Because we're sending you down, that doesn't mean we think any different of you. You still feel that you can play in the big leagues, but right now there's just some other things that we got to do. Sometimes it's tough, but still I'm doing what I love doing. I'm still getting paid for it, even down in the minor leagues. So it's sometimes just kind of gotta take things, at what they are. I'm playing a game right now, which I love doing, and I'm just a step away from the big leagues, and hopefully I can get there.
For Billy Taylor, that final step has been 13 years coming, and still the competition goes on. His name is on the A's roster heading into the traditional weekend base series against the Giants. But the team still has several moves to make before finalizing their 24-man roster. Those moves are likely to come only hours before the clock strikes midnight and the beginning of another opening day.
I mean, they're gonna take probably 12 pitchers, so you have your 5 starters and 7 relievers, but like I said, they haven't released any kind of information of who's going or what. So like I say, after this base series, I'm sure everybody will know what they're going to do, and we'll find out then. Really, I look at it one way. All the years I played in minor leagues, I look back and actually have nothing to lose and all to gain. And by thinking that way, it makes me relax, knowing that all I can do now is go up instead of down.